If you want to support the channel, then please check out my Patreon page to gain access to exclusive videos, take part in Q&As, and watch my retrospectives before they go live on YouTube. In 1987, Canon Films released Masters of the Universe, the live-action feature film based on the popular cartoon show and toy line from Mattel. When the film went into production, He-Man was one of the most popular action figures on the market, but once the film hit the big screen, the toy line had heavily declined in sales, as kids had moved on to other toys such as the Ninja Turtles. This didn't stop Mattel in releasing figures based on the movie. They put out 3 toys based on the new characters, Blade, Sarad and Gwildor, and that was it. There were no attempts to put out toys based on Dolph Lundgren as He-Man and Frank Langella as Skeletor. Fans for years were hoping Mattel or another company would come along to make the effort to give fans of the 1987 film the action figures they so wanted as kids. To my surprise, toy manufacturer Super7 announced in March of last year the William Stout Collection, 4 figures based off his artwork from the movie, as he was the production designer. And here we have the new selection from Super7, continuing with the Masters of the Universe movie line. Now we have He-Man, regular Skeletor, God Skeletor, where he has the big chandelier on top of his head near the end of the movie, and Commander Kargh. Now these figures were released kind of late last year. They took a while for them to get to me, because there was a bit of a disaster with the sort of tracking numbers not providing any results, but finally they did arrive. One of my friends who collects He-Man figures said it's probably best not to order directly from Super7, best to go through one of their suppliers. But I'm glad they're finally here, because it took forever, and I've had these sat in a box for like maybe a month. So now I've finally got round to unboxing these and seeing the quality. I did see the quality of one of the figures because one of my close friends picked up the regular Skeletor, and it did look very good. So we're going to crack open He-Man first, because as a kid I always wanted the movie version of He-Man, because I saw my friend when I was a kid, probably in the early 90s, he had a figure of Blade and Gwildor. I said to him, I still vividly remember saying to him, oh, is there an action figure of the Dolph Lundgren He-Man? And he goes, oh yeah, definitely. Obviously he was lying, you know, kids always lie. The only ones I ever saw were the custom ones by fans of the series, and it wasn't till now that they actually brought one out. We'll crack open He-Man and see what that's like. As we can see from He-Man, the packaging is pretty much the same as their regular sort of He-Man figures. It's sort of the classics range, and on the back we have sort of the range of figures from the movie, which I got all 4 of them as part of the set. You could buy I think some individually, but I went for the full set, and then we got like additional figures there we can see from the club range, and tells you about He-Man information pack there. But on the bottom, try and get it on the lens. I don't think there is any indication that it's from, they've licensed it from Warner Brothers, so it's come from William Stout's kind of concept work for He-Man. Here we have the regular Skeletor coming with a staff, cosmic key and sword. The cosmic key is the finished version. Gwildor owns the prototype, and he uses that key to break into Grayskull. Here we have the God Skeletor when he becomes Master of the Universe. He comes with a staff and nothing else. You think he may have had a sword or something like that, but they've chosen not to give him the sword. And here we have Commander Kargh, one of the new characters from the movie, with his lovely bouffant hair. He comes with a pistol and a dagger. He uses the pistol once in the movie near the end, and the dagger, I think the dagger he uses looks different to the one that is supplied with him, so they may have just gone from the concept design work and not the one from the actual movie. I am going to unbox these and show you up close what they look like, because I'm quite excited to see what He-Man's like, because it's a figure I've always wanted, and he's got all the cape, and hopefully he's got all the accessories that he has in the movie, like the gun, and I'm sure he's also got the power sword. You can change his head, apparently, from what I can see in here. Yeah, let's see these up close and see if the quality holds up to scrutiny. But as I've seen Skeletor unboxed, and he does look fantastic. As a kid, I always kept the backing cards as a kid, so I think I may have gave them away or sold them at a car boot sale, but I had all the backings for the Turtles, Visionaries, sort of the DC superhero characters, and real Ghostbusters. Like some of the sort of odd characters like the Mummy and the Frankenstein. They've released all these kind of weird villains which didn't actually appear in the cartoon. But yeah, I gave them away ages ago. Right, got He-Man unboxed there. The little knife that comes with him, I don't know where that actually goes, because he has, if you can see, put his cape up, he can put his dagger in there, and we've got his pistol and his power sword, which he holds, it fits in his hand really easily. There's no sort of difficulty trying to put it in his hand, and also you can put his power sword in his holster at the back there. In terms of articulation, actually, it's quite stiff joints actually on this, but his knees, I don't think they barely actually move. There's hardly any give on those. His chest has a kind of a joint here, kind of shifts forward, back and forth slightly. But I mean, it's the thing, isn't it, with these kind of action figures? Are kids going to want to play with these? Probably not, because they wouldn't buy these sort of things. They are basically for grown-up men who love the character and just want to have it displayed on their shelf. So, I mean, in terms of, you know, really flexible movement, it's not really a huge kind of deal unless you just want to put them in sort of different fixed poses, you know, while they're on display. Which I'll just, you know, put He-Man in probably one pose and just leave him there and just have him sit there collecting dust, I suppose. Can you just take the head off? I sometimes don't like sort of pulling their heads off because I don't want to worry about damaging it. Let's put a close up there of his face so you can see what he looks like with the extra face. Right. Okay, so we've got his cosmic key here, which is really cool. It's a fantastic prop, that was. The two props I would like from this movie is the power sword He-Man has, which I think Richard Edlund, the FX guy, owns. A friend of mine did do a copy of one, which is pretty impressive. And the cosmic key. The cosmic key is fantastic. Skeletor does look amazing. Frank Langella, fantastic performance in the movie. And it's really cool to have a sort of menacing, kind of threatening Skeletor put as a figure, because, you know, from the toys, Skeletor was always kind of, you know, in the cartoon he's kind of played for laughs, isn't he? But he still is a good villain. But in the movie he's kind of far more theatrical, and I don't know where that cosmic key goes. It's really annoying me now. I can't just sit there. Oh, yay! He's standing up. I don't think many people would be rushing out to sort of get this Skeletor. I think most people would be after the regular one, and the He-Man figure. But there was quite a lot of criticism of this design of Skeletor, but I think he does look fantastic. It just shows you sort of Skeletor at the next level, as it is, you know, if he had ruled the universe. Be interesting to see what He-Man would look like if he was all powered up that way. Maybe just look the same, just with extra gold on him. Which, well, at the end of the film, isn't it? His shoulder pads, chest piece is all kind of gold, so maybe he has become master of the universe at that point. But yeah, well, let's look at the final figure, which is Commander Kargh. Right, as we've got Commander Kargh here, his cape is like really like thick. It's like rubber, really. 'Cause it's supposed to be like a sort of, I presume, a sort of cotton design, maybe, or sort of like, no, it's supposed to be like a wool, isn't it, on his back. It's quite back heavy. If he can stand up. Oh, he does stand up. Great, fantastic. His cape does feel pretty heavy. I thought he struggled to stand up. You can hold the gun easily, fits in his hand nice and neatly, and the extra knife he has, I don't know where that goes. There's no holster on him, so it's just an extra accessory. Like most kind of figures, you know, he always had like an extra knife or an extra gun. Like Turtles had these kind of weird shurikens and all these weird daggers, which you could never use. Only Raphael could hold one in his back shell. But yeah, Kargh, you know, I think it's kind of a strange choice actually to sort of include him as part of the set. I think most people may have wanted something like a, well, they did update the original line of movie figures, which was Blade, Gwildor, I think the Lizard one. I think they did update those, but it would be nice to have something like, I don't know, the movie version of Beastman. But, you know, people want to complete their collection. I suppose Kargh was probably the odd one out, one left over, I suppose. So, I mean, in the film, he is quite a cool design, I suppose, but he doesn't really get much to do, and he is portrayed as a bit of a coward. It's not too bad, this figure. So there we have it, the Super7 Masters of the Universe figures based on the movies. As I said during my sort of critique, I'm very happy with the quality of these. You know, they are a good size. I don't think I could do with any more 12-inch, sort of 14-inch as it were, sort of figures. I've got the sort of NECA, Christopher Reeve and Batman figures. And they are very detailed and very cool, but they do take up a lot of space, and having something a little bit more sort of presentable on a shelf is, I think, a little bit easier to do. I don't tend to, you know, do unboxings really. The last unboxing I did was the Christopher Reeve Superman figure from a couple of years ago. So this isn't something I do on a regular basis, because I bought these because I'm a fan of the movie. It's a guilty pleasure to me, and many people don't particularly like the film. I completely understand. But it's something I grew up on, and I always wanted, you know, figures based on these two. Now I have, but now I'm too old to play with them. So these will just sit on my shelf and collect dust for the remaining years. I may put them back in the boxes. I didn't destroy the boxes, thankfully. I don't think these are completely sold out. If you can find them online, then if you are a fan of the movie or, you know, of the cartoon and always wanted you know, one of the figures based off the movie, they're certainly worth getting hold of before they all finally disappear. As nostalgia has become a powerful tool, we are starting to see figures based off the Ninja Turtles movies, you know, from 1990. Some really decent kind of from NECA as well, and they are something I would like to get, because they released, you know, the 4 Turtles in this kind of size. I would like to get those, but that will be the last of the sort of kind of action figures I would purchase to sort of, you know, grab something from my youth. I know there's some more Superman movie stuff coming out, but I'm not sure if I need another. I mean, I've got 3 Christopher Reeve kind of sort of figures, so I don't think I need any more. Maybe if they released, I don't know, like a Nuclear Man, that would be quite fun to have. The movie version of He-Man is not to everyone's liking. I mean, because they did give him a cape, they gave him a gun and so forth. But I think in terms of translating a cartoon to film, there's always going to be changes along the way. And I think William Stout did a good job of sort of updating He-Man by giving him extra accessories and a sort of a cape to sort of keep him warm and make more of a superhero cape, isn't it? And Skeletor himself, I mean, I always wish though, like in the movie, they'd painted around his eyes like black, so you just saw these kind of, a bit like when they did with Batman, was paint around his eyes, like panda eyes he gets. He takes the mask off. Do it with Skeletor, so you just see these kind of floating eyes looking at you. I think that would have been really quite, probably a little bit more scary, and add a bit more of an effect to his mask that he's wearing. It's always difficult though, back in, you know, the 80s with the limited budgets to sort of achieve the sort of, because in the cartoons it's this kind of skull, isn't it? This kind of floating skull in this kind of hood he wears. So I think in terms of, you know, the design of Skeletor, I think he's really good. I think he's always been a sort of menacing villain. He's probably more menacing than Darth Vader because of his, you know, short temper and shouting and screaming to get his way. And obviously with the God Skeletor, it's his, you know, proper Marvel version of Skeletor, I suppose, with his cosmic powers, something that wouldn't feel out of place in a Doctor Strange movie, you know. And Kargh as well, with his bouffant hair. As a sort of, you know, as with all films, you know, when they always have to introduce new characters. And I think they did a good job in the film of introducing Blade and the lizard character. I always keep forgetting his name. He was a great character who gets killed off, you know. He should have survived to the end. And then the Beast Man, didn't they? Then they had to introduce a new character, Kargh, which they never made into a toy at the time. So it's interesting that they chose some characters to bring back as toys, or to introduce them as toys at the time, and then left out these ones. I think most kids would have rushed out to get like a Dolph He-Man or a godlike Skeletor. to complete their sort of collection. As I said earlier, the He-Man figures were on a decline at the time, and they'd, kids had moved on to other toys. But He-Man itself, is stuck with us all this time. They're still putting out these figures, these collectible stuff for the grown-ups who have a lot of disposable cash and want to, complete their collection or update them. And I have no problem with that. I think that's really cool. As we've seen so many sort of figures come out over the years based on any sort of movie you can think of, like the small figures. I've got the small ones of like Predator and Escape from New York. I mean, nostalgia is, there's figures for everything now, and I love a lot of these movies, but I'm not going to go out my way to buy every single kind of little nostalgic kind of action figure. I'm very picky about what I buy, and it's either got to be something Robocop or Batman or Superman or He-Man. In the case of He-Man, it's got to be something that's based on the movies for me, because that's my kind of childhood. He-Man was on TV. We had the Timmy Mallet show. Then you had like episodes of Batfink and He-Man and Inspector Gadget. So I grew up with He-Man. He-Man was my first thing. It was like Thomas the Tank Engine, then it was He-Man, then it was Superman. So I still have the Panini, I think it's Panini sticker album for He-Man the movie. So there's always going to be a strong nostalgic connection for me to the movie and that character. But yeah, so if you're interested in getting hold of these, I'll put some links in the video. Hopefully you can still buy these at a reasonable price. Don't have to pay too much for them. I paid I think it was £150 for the set, and that included postage as well, but still a bit pricey for an action figure. That's why some of my friends just bought one individual one. They didn't buy the set. So maybe, but I wanted at the time all of them, and I ordered this over a year ago. But for those who are lucky to find some now, then I'll put some links below, and you can get hold of a Dolph Lundgren or a Frank Langella and add it to your collection. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. I will be back with some more very soon. Take care and goodbye.